Thank you. So as Dan was saying, we are gonna talk about Copilot and GitHub. How can you boost your productivity using Copilot? Okay. So the first thing I want to ask is who is using Copilot here? Any hands? Oh, so many. Okay, so I want to understand this because later I'll do some demo and I'll explain a bit the basics. So a bit of an introduction for the people that have never used Copilot. And then we'll go into the more the things I like more, which is the most interesting part, with agents, etc. You'll see it later. So the first thing. So I'm sure you've seen this slide, and I'm sure you're feeling it. We did a study a couple years ago where we discovered that 75% of the time developers are not actually developing. They are planning or refactoring, doing stuff that maybe is a bit boring, let's say, or less productive. I'm sure you've felt that and that you actually want to spend more time doing what is interesting to you, right? So why does this happen? Well, you see a bunch of things here. So sometimes it's because maybe you have legacy code, complex databases, you have to do repetitive tasks, maybe create some testing, some unit testing. We also are onboarded in a bunch of repos that sometimes we don't know what they are about, and we have to onboard super fast, which is very, very hard to do. Or we just need to reuse code or follow some frameworks that we are not familiar with, right? So how does Copilot help with this? Well, hopefully, if you've used Copilot, you've seen that it maximizes your happiness, which is what we are going to try to show later. But how does it happen? The first thing would be increasing your productivity. How does this translate into real things, right? Because this is a bit abstract what I'm talking about. Well, first of all, what we were talking about earlier, it solves some of the challenges hey, I'm onboarded in a new project, or maybe I'm not familiar with a framework. I personally use it a lot to learn new languages, new frameworks, new models that I want to develop, right? Other things that it can help you with, well, it can help you focus on the things that are more interesting, right? So, I don't know, things like creating data for your test or refactoring stuff. That's not really something that brings value sometimes. So that's what Copilot is gonna help you with, or that's what it's helping me with, right? So that's what we say when we talk about productivity. And finally, it's gonna accelerate that software development. You'll see if you've already started using Copilot that you develop 10 times faster, 20 times faster, instead of going to the documentation, trying to figure out how the things work, etc. You'll be okay, just tell me how it works and give me some examples, some boilerplate code, so I can start from somewhere, right? Which brings us a bit of an acceleration or innovation way faster than it would if we were only doing it ourselves. So some of the things that you have already experienced is you'll have more time doing the interesting stuff, right? I like to say you won't spend time doing mundane tasks unit testing, documenting, summarizing stuff, trying to understand the code, trying to search to the documentation. So all those things that are actually repetitive, that actually we don't want to spend time in, that 75% of time that we spend trying to do things that is actually for the other 25%, which is actually coding, that will be out of the question, and we'll spend more time talking to our teammates, brainstorming, trying to understand what is the design that we want to do. So a bunch of other things that it's not only bringing value to the business, but also to ourselves, because it's where we actually enjoy spending our time, right? So where is this whole thing? Most likely you're using different IDEs, different platforms, etc. So as you can see today, we are in, well, your favorite IDEs, hopefully. So we are in Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, the whole family of JetBrains. We recently added Xcode, and we recently, because it's been maybe a couple of weeks, that we added Eclipse. Yay, Eclipse. Sometimes people use Eclipse. It's a bit oldish, but we still added it because it's very useful for some business cases. As you see, we have a bunch of things, but it's not only in the IDE. If you've already used Copilot with the platform, you see it brings other set of things that the IDE cannot bring, right? And that's what we are gonna see in the demo. So where is this coming from? This is a super simple repo that I use a lot to do my demos. Actually, I'm gonna show you how it looks like, because I think it's worth showing you what we are talking about, because it will make sense later. So I have here like a little bookstore. If you've had some demos, maybe someone presented this to you already. Otherwise, like it's kind of like like a Java application where you can buy some books, add some stuff to your cart, etc. Not super relevant maybe, because you are using like, I don't know, you're a data scientist and you're using notebooks, or you are using like other languages that are not Java, but just for you to understand what we are about to do, okay? So we are in this repo, my glowing octa sniffle, and if we go like and become suddenly a developer, like you all probably are, the first thing that we would do in our day is like ask, like if we have something to do, right? So maybe you have an issue, or like you have like a feature that you have to develop, right? So that's exactly what we are going to do. Here, I'm in Visual Studio Code just because I like it more, but you can do the same in other IDEs. And the first thing you see in the right is the Copilot chat, right? So here you can do a bunch of things, like asking for information or asking, for example, if I have an actual issue or something to do. Let's ask Copilot. As you see, like I'm doing the add, and that add GitHub is just going to connect me to the platform, okay? Here you see a bunch of other things. These are called like extensions. I don't know if you are familiar with them. It's to extend the functionality that maybe Copilot doesn't have today, or to connect to other systems that you're going to use to bring that information from. In our case, we're going to bring information from GitHub, and we're going to ask, are there any issues assigned to me? What this is going to do is going to connect to the repo I've just shown you, okay? It's going to scan through the different issues I have, and it's going to bring back that issue. So you already start to see I have a bunch of issues in different repos, and the one that we are going to go for is going to be the first one, add rating feature to the bookstore. Let's go and click into it and see what's up. Let's let it finish. Okay, super. So it's redirecting us to an issue that I had open and that I had assigned to myself in the repository we were looking at. What is this about? Well, you've seen earlier we had like that little bookstore, and what we wanted to do is we want to add now like a rating feature for that, because we want our users to know like, okay, what is the best book, what we can do, and what is worth maybe buying. So you see a bit here the different the description, the context, maybe some comments on how the UI has to look. So we're gonna start to develop this. So the first thing that I would ask Copilot, if you've already used it, is like, okay, how do I go about doing this new rating feature, right? So let's ask exactly that. How do I do to build the rating feature? You see what it's telling me, because it's a live demo, and just so you're aware, like it didn't work on the first try. So let's retry, okay? Let's ask like, how can I build a rating feature for my books? Hopefully this time it works. Okay, it won't assist me with this. Great. Happens every time when I have a demo. Okay, then let's do it in a different way. Let's come over here. I'm gonna come to the book, and I'm gonna show you like, this is like the book that you were seeing earlier, the object, right? I'm gonna ask it to maybe add some features directly, okay? So let's say, can you add some rating feature with the constructors? And let's see if now it's starting to build up some stuff. So you are seeing that if I give it a bit more context and a bit a better prompt, it's going to understand a bit better what I want to do, right? So in this case, I've asked, okay, I know I want to build the rating feature. I know I need to update the constructors because I'm familiar with the code, because this is like the object that I've created in Java to store these books. And it has added the rating field. And not only that, but it has also added some getters and setters for the new rating field that I've just added. So let's go ahead and accept that. What happens now? Well, usually I rather come here when I want to like do something specific. So let's say I want to like, in this case, I know the exact thing I have to do in the exact file. So I'll come and iterate over it. In this case, we could say, okay, this is good, but now like maybe this rating feature needs like some threshold, right? They cannot like just rating from like -1000 to 2000. That doesn't make sense. So let's ask to add some threshold there, so that you can see that this is not only about generating code, it's also about talking to Copilot, iterating with it, and really understanding the whole process of development, okay? It's not like, I forgot to say this earlier, but this is not a replacement for developers, it's a tool for developers, okay? I want you to have that in mind, because people confuse it and like they start to panic and they think like AI is gonna take the world and replace everyone. So let's go ask, I want the rating feature, maybe let's say it can be from 0 to 5. So I want the rating feature to be from 0 to 5. Can you modify the code? Okay. So you see it has like taken what I had selected and it's rewriting that. In this case, I've said like from 0 to 5, so that's what it's doing. And if we are like outside of those boundaries, it's gonna give us an error. You could iterate if you have like maybe like more specific ideas, or you want to add something or like a library or something that you are more familiar with. In this case, I'm trying to make it accessible to everyone, because I know some people maybe have never used Copilot and it's a first approach. So let's get this and let's move it here so that you can see it a bit better. So what happens now? The thing is like, you've noticed that it has written new stuff because I've asked it to write new stuff, but it hasn't actually like removed the previous stuff because I was not selecting it and I was not asking like to refactor it or anything. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask this. I like a lot because I spent a lot of time refactoring in my early days. To maybe like review the whole thing and tell me if there's something I should change, which should like come up with some extra information, like maybe like remove some stuff, maybe add some stuff that you're missing. You see, like in this case, the source or like the context that is taken because I'm in the book. Okay, you don't have any feedback. Cool. Let's do something else. Let's ask it to review it in a different way. I want to show you like different ways of doing this so that you see like maybe like if we have like a review for like, for example, one of our developers, it's not necessarily something is wrong or like something is worth a comment, but I want you to see how we can leverage a bit more Copilot. So you see I've selected file, okay? These little hashtags, if you haven't used them, I think they are quite useful. It's basically like to avoid having to every time select something, okay? So like, for example, file or edit or code base, like the different things that you would usually use to talk to Copilot. So let's ask, can you please refactor the file and see what it comes with? So as you see, it works a bit different from earlier. I've just said like revise the whole thing. In this case, it has taken book because I have it open and I also had some lines selected. So like from 2 to 44, which was like the new stuff, and it's bringing like some new code, right? You'll see, let me put it a bit bigger so you have a bit better visibility. You have like the book, the different constructors. In this case, you see it's removing the previous stuff because I've just asked to remove it and to refactor the whole thing, and it's still maintaining the new stuff. what happens with this? Like, it's like if you're working with a peer, like you have to be a bit more specific. If you come to me and tell me just build the rating feature, I will be like, okay, how? Give me some guidelines. Where do you want me to build it? When should it fail, etc. Right? So how can you bring this to over here? Like, you can either select it and just like replace the whole thing, or you can just copy it and paste it. But I think this is easier. More things that you can do that are quite interesting. Well, I don't know if you've noticed in the beginning, but it was talking about workspace, right, in this part. So if you do like something like this, you'll see like we were seeing these different parts, and we had the workspace. So I've hinted a bit at the context when I was saying like I've selected a file, I've selected maybe a piece of code, but now I'm selecting the whole workspace. That means I'm gonna select everything in the repo, right? You could also, if you have the code in GitHub, call to some organization, to some specific repo that you have there. So like you can connect the pieces together, right? So if you've used Copilot, this is the basic thing that you would start with. And you're like, yeah, that's okay. Like before I've seen this 100 times with different repos. But what's more interesting about this that I find like cooler because it's like newer and like it helps us a bit more. What's the next step? Well, if you've recently used Copilot, you've also seen this part where you can edit, right? So it's just like, what's the difference between this chat and this editing Copilot? Well, earlier I was like, okay, first I need to go to this book file. Then I need to ask to do this specific thing. Then I need to specify what I have to do. Then I need to replace it. So a bunch of things that maybe are not like something that you want to do for 1,000 files, or even for 3 files. You don't want to do that, right? So what you could do instead is like say, okay, I want to refactor several things. So earlier I was just refactoring the book, but if we have the book, most likely we need to refactor as well the test, right? Because we've had stuff, and like that's something we always forget. So let's do exactly that. Let's go for the book test that I have over here. And let's also maybe replace like the UI we have today. We want to update it because now we are gonna show some new rating feature, right? So let's go for the book HTML. So you see, I have a set of files that I've selected. So now it's not just trying to understand what is the context, but it's also specified a bit more. Like, let's say, I like to say that the prompt is a bit more understandable for Copilot so that it knows exactly what it has to go for. So let's ask to refactor this whole thing. Let's say, can you refactor these files with the new rating feature we created in, we had book.java, which is this one. So what you start to see here is that it's starting with the first one, right? So it's bringing like book test and saying like, okay, I need to add some test rating so that that rating feature that I've just created is tested, right? I don't know if you've noticed, but here there's like some changes that are being made. So if we go to book test, which is the one that is telling us it has started refactoring, you'll see that it has added not only like one random test, but it has tried without any specifications because we were not very good at prompting. Don't learn from me from the prompts I do here. It has created 3 tests. Okay, so it has created three tests so that you can test that new rating feature, and it has also added in the setup without us specifying that you have to set up the rating so it works as well. More things that it has done without us asking. Well, it has also modified the UI, right? So we were saying like, hey, we are adding this rating feature and we don't have it in the UI. How are they gonna like click on it and rate it? Well, you have here like a new column with the rating, and it's telling you, okay, this is the new rating that I have just added, and I'm also going to add like some display so you can see the actual rating in your UI. Okay, so I think that's like the next step for Copilot. Now I'm going to show you the next step for Copilot. Okay, so I don't know if you've heard about the agent. Is anyone using the agent for Copilot? Yeah. Okay. Yay! Someone. Nice. Okay, so this is like new for you. So this is great. That's good news. So let's do something. Let's discard this whole thing. I don't want it anymore. So I'm gonna remove this whole thing. Let's start from the beginning. So we are gonna say, we were saying in the beginning, hey, can you bring me the actual issue that I have? Let's try again and see if it works. Hopefully this time it works. It's gonna bring that issue that we were seeing, and we are gonna ask it to the agent, okay, which is just gonna like be an extra smart peer, I would say, like someone that is actually gonna go a bit above like what you're expecting, not only like giving it like specific things like, hey, modify this, refactor this, create this, like you don't have to go step by step. Now it's like, no, build me the whole feature. I don't want to have to specify the whole thing. You can specify it better or worse, but I want to build it from this issue that I have here. I haven't showed it to you earlier, but over here, I don't know if you can see it. You have a couple options. You have the option to change model, or you have the option to go to agent mode. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to agent mode, and we're gonna pass this new issue. We're gonna click over here. You see it has switched over. So now we are on agent mode. And what is it doing? Well, it has taken that rating feature that we just passed over, and it has started to like draft the plan, right? So it's saying like, okay, now that I have this issue, I think I need to update the backend and the frontend. That's what we were asking before. We also need to add some tests. That's also what we were asking before because we kind of know how it works. So for us, it's easy to know. And where do I have to modify this whole thing? We haven't specified now like the files, right? Now we just say like, just do it and figure it out. So that's exactly what it's doing. Let me scroll a bit more over here, and it has started. Okay, first I'm gonna read the stuff that you have. I'm gonna actually read the model. Then I'm gonna go to the services, I'm gonna go to the servlet, I'm gonna go over the different files you have, and I'm gonna create if I need some new rating services. If I have to implement some new stuff in the model, I will. If I need to create some new tests for that new rating model, I will as well. And that's what it has done. So you see these little dots that we were seeing earlier during the edit. It continues doing its own thing. It likes to be productive. Let's go over the thing that it has already done. So it has taken a different approach, right? So now it's like, no, this rating is not going to be into the book. Now it's going to be its own thing because we want to set up some stuff. We are also like going to set up a rating service. We are going to go like update the book servlet. Like we're going to do a bunch of things. So now it's not like about specifying what we actually want. Like if it was like a junior developer, it's more like, okay, can you help me draft a plan on this and also like action or take action on it? Okay, so is it a bit different, right? So it's like the next step to what we had before. Of course, like you are gonna continue using the chat because maybe you just want to brainstorm, or maybe you just want to like, I don't know, go through some new model or some new framework that you want to learn about, some new repo even. But wouldn't it be cool like if we can actually find it somewhere else? Earlier we were saying like, hey, this is like in the IDE, and I've shown you like the 5 IDEs we have. But I was also talking about the platform, right? That's what we're gonna do. Let's do something. This is the issue. I don't know if you've seen already workspaces, but it's a very similar idea to what I was talking about with agent. Like I don't want to have to re-ask if I already have like some markdown or I have an issue where I'm specifying what I want to do. I want to just go to my workspace and I want to like be able to implement this whole thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the workspace. This is only happening in the platform, okay? This is, let's say, like if Copilot is embedded throughout the whole platform, so it's not like either in the IDE, either in the pull request, or either here, it's everywhere, and that's what you're seeing. So it's taking the issue that we've just seen, that we've just implemented in a couple different ways, and it's bringing like a plan together, right? So it's telling me, hey, maybe I should like go over like what is actually happening today, right? So what is the current behavior? There's no rating feature, and that's what we specify in the issue. And what would be the solution to this? Well, we have to add, as you were seeing earlier, like a new rating attribute, a new getters and setters. We have to create some samples. We have to display that somewhere, right? So what can you do here? It's not only about like having something come to you, but it's collaborating. You see here different suggestions. So how is it gonna be treated? How is the feature integrated, etc. But you can like prompt it. Okay, like you were the NND, you can ask like, hey, how should I go about like maybe creating a need additional feature? Like maybe like I don't want to have to rely on the ratings of my customers. I want to have like the IP, the book IP from Google, like bringing the already existing ratings into my application. And let's generate the plan. So you see now what it's going to propose me is actual very concrete actions. Earlier was like high level, and right now it's going to say like these are the actual changes that we are going to implement, right? So it's telling me I'm going to update these specific files, and these are the changes that I'm going to do per file. Okay, I'm fine with it. It seems okay. We've gone over it 3 times. Like now you're bored with the rating features. You want to just get like over with the rating feature and just implement it, right? So that's what we are going to do with Workspace. Like you've seen, the implementation is already done. It's going over each of the files, right? And it's doing it on its own. So you can just grab this code, create a new pull request when it's done, and have the feature ready to go.
Big round of applause for Nerea.
Thank you.